Welcome to the work session for March 21st, 2023 at 6 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Hewitt?
Here.
Vice Mayor Sui?
Here.
Commissioner Romanek?
Here.
Commissioner Watson?
Here.
Mayor Orndorff?
Here. Can we stand for the salute of the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, just the removal of the presentation on community solar project. I believe the presenter was not feeling well.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So there's nothing out nothing else under presentations this evening? Right,
Correct.
nothing else has been added? Okay, and we'll just move right to the discussion.
Yep, so this is the status of the April 4th, 2023 appeal hearing in the Rick Abbott versus Board of Adjustment in light of pending lawsuit, and I'm going to give the mic to Brock.
Mr. Russell?
Okay, when we scheduled that hearing, there was no action filed in Superior Court, and after we scheduled that hearing, Mr. Abbott filed a lawsuit in Superior Court, a prerogative writ application. Now, as long as that remains pending, we no longer have jurisdiction. So we may get it back at some point, but it's only going to be if the judge, Judge Telsey, decides to send it back to our board for us to consider the case. But at this point, we have no jurisdiction. There is, I spoke to Mr. Tom about this earlier today. I did receive an email, or not an email, I went on to the judiciary website and saw that yesterday, on March 20th, the court did schedule the first appearance for that case, and I believe it's the 26th or 27th. I sent the notice to Mr. Tom. And so, and that, just so everyone understands, at that first appearance, there's not going to be any decision made. The judge is just going to probably establish a scheduling order for when briefs would have to be submitted. So there's no way we're going to know what the judge is going to do before April the 4th. So it would be my recommendation to the Board of Commissioners that you postpone the hearing scheduled before us on April 4th indefinitely until such time we hear from the court.
Okay, so you just need to make a motion. Or do you
Yeah, well, I
want-
have a question. So let's say that Mr. Tom gets a CO, keeps going, and then it goes to court, and either the court or the city commission rules against it, then it's wasting a huge amount of his time, isn't it? And
Well,
when-
this issue comes up quite a bit whenever there's an appeal of a land use approval. And one of the problems is there is no stay. When you file when someone objects to a land use decision and normally they file suit in Superior Court, that doesn't, stop the person from doing their development. The problem is that if you build a building, for example, and then later some judge decides that the board acted improperly, then you might have to tear your building down. That's the problem.
That's the point I was trying to
Yep.
make. It's not really helpful to anybody for this to keep going on and
Yeah.
on and on. That's all I have.
Well, unfortunately, we can't.
No, we
It's
can't.
out of our
It's
hands
out
at
of
this
our
point,
hands.
so.
I remember a Judge Armstrong used to be the assignment judge in Atlantic City, making that point clear in a case I handled.
And just to clarify, Mr. Russell, when you said it comes back to the board, you mean the Board of Commission, not the board, the zoning board?
Well,
Correct.
yeah, actually, the judge, Judge Telsey, could do a number of things. He could simply affirm the decision by the Board of Adjustment. That would be the end of the case. It wouldn't come back to us or to the board. He could find that the variance should not have been granted as a matter of law. That would end the case. It wouldn't come back to anyone. Or he could send it back to us, because that's what Mr. Abbott is asking for us to hear an appeal. Or he could say, you know what, I don't have enough information. This needs to go back to the actual board for them to have a hearing. And then if someone doesn't like it, then they can go to the Board of Commissioners afterwards, or they can go into court. So the judge has a number of options. But as I said, he might not even send it back to us. So at this point, I don't think you have any option but to postpone any hearing before this Board of Commissioners until such time as we receive direction from the Superior Court.
So we just need a motion to postpone the April hearing
Indefinitely.
indefinitely until we hear from
Yeah.
the judge. So can we have a motion to do that?
Make motion?
Second the motion.
So I have a first and a second on a motion to indefinitely postpone the April 4th appeal hearing until we hear from the judge.
Got it.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sui?
Yes.
Commissioner Romanek?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Mayor Warndorf?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thanks. Moving on, public comment on agenda items only. If anybody has a comment, question, or concern on the agenda item, please come to this podium, state your first name and address, and limit those comments to 5 minutes, please.
Evening, everybody. My name is Sean Tha, Millville, Executive Director of Our Future First. I just wanted to put on the record, while we are appreciative of the fact that this has been postponed indefinitely, at the end of the day, we would have preferred to see an ultimate dismissal at this level. There's no debating the fact that the appeal was turned in late. And Mr. Abbott's complaint to Superior Court, he specifically documents why it was turned in late. There's no denial of it at all. At that point, the City Commission has the ability to say, we're not going to hear this appeal because it's late. Now, if it gets appealed to Superior Court and the judge says, well, you know what, we're going to sustain your appeal and then send it back to be heard at the first level, then that's what happens. When we're dealing with semantics, words matter. So there's a big difference between indefinitely postponing and dismissing. And I have to think that if the situation was reversed, and I would, hopefully it wouldn't be, if we turned in an appeal late, would we have been given the same courtesy of it being indefinitely postponed versus dismissed right away? I don't know the answer to that question, but in my heart, I feel like I do. So again, I'm not sure why we're discussing the agenda items after they've already been voted on and discussed, but it would have been nice to be able to provide that information before the vote happened to indefinitely postpone versus dismiss that appeal entirely.
Yeah, Mr. Tom, I can maybe answer your question. We don't have jurisdiction, and what that means is we don't have the power to act one way or another. Now, the judge can decide the notice issue in Superior Court. He could remand that back to the Board of Commissioners and said, I want you to decide it. Or he could say, I'm just going to keep the appeal here and I'm going to decide it. So it's really up to him.
Right, I mean, and I understand, and consulting with attorneys, we were told the city, regardless of what the appeal said, had the ability to dismiss the appeal. I mean, and allow to dismiss the appeal to the governing body and allow whatever happens in Superior Court to happen. I mean, that would have been a good show. You know what, listen, you submitted it late, it doesn't matter why you submitted it late, it's dismissed, see what happens in the appeal with the Superior Court and go from there. I mean, it's unfortunate we couldn't talk about that before a vote was taken, but that's all.
Seeing nobody else, we will close the public comment on agenda items only and go to discussions of commissioners. Commissioner Romanek?
Yes, I just would like to tell Commissioner Watson, if you could please, in the regular session meeting, when it's your opportunity to talk, to remind the public that for the municipal dump, that there is no restrictions on length of trailers. It got brought to my attention most recently with the dump trailers, nothing's happening with the changes of dump trailer use in the municipal dump. But the misconception, which I think the public is misinformed about, is the length. There was a restriction on it when in 2018 the DEP got involved in control of many fines that unfortunately happened at our local landfill. But last year there was the restriction of length of trailer was uplifted, and I don't think the public in the whole knows about that. So if you would please, in your Streets and Roads report, please let the public know that length of trailer, there's no length restriction. Dump trailer, there is still a restriction.
Sounds good, will do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that what happened back in 18, because I was around then, or 19, one or the other, 17, was that there was too much vegetative matter that was accumulating at that dump, and the DEP came down and said, you can't put more, told the city you can't put more here. So then I think there was some additional restrictions put in place, and apparently they're no longer necessary, based on what you've said, Commissioner Romanek.
Correct, and I was talking with Wayne from your department. He called me directly because I had a complaint about brush and the use of trailers. Well, and that's when I got clarification through Wayne about that. So
If I could, I'd like to add just one thing. We need to clarify, there are no commercial tagged trailers allowed in the compost pile.
and you can exactly. I don't know if you already knew
I
that,
think that
Commissioner.
was probably one of the reasons why they didn't allow a dump trailer in there, because it's
Correct.
mostly owned by
Yes.
commercial users.
I
Correct.
thought that's why that's how it's stated in there.
Yeah, we had some unfortunately very conniving citizens that, even though they didn't have commercially licensed trailers or trucks, they were still abusing and overloading the landfill. So that's why, but no dump trailers at all, still, and then the commercial as well is reiterating that. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Hewitt?
The only thing I'd like to put out there is people that have been watching Facebook and different social media things. It's springtime. We're in the middle of red flag season as far as fire pits go. Even campgrounds are getting ready to open. Can't have any fires on the ground. We've been responding. Right now, we're out to 2 different brush fires in 2 ends of the town. Be careful, folks. I know we all like our fire pits, and but right now we are under a red flag situation, which means no burning. That's all. Thank you.
Just a question, is there a place on the website that makes the residents aware that we're under that?
Red flag designations come via New Jersey Forest Fire Department. And they are sectioned off into, right now, the entire state. And they can break down as humidity starts building and rain to 3 different sections of the state, south, central, and north. So yes, that's the only way we can let the city know is by letting them know here. If we wanted to put something on the website, and then I will make sure that when we're good to go, I can let whoever's running the website know, probably Sam, and it can come down. We can do that on our own. I don't see any problem with that. But that's the only way we get notifications is through Forest Fire.
Thank you.
And just to make everybody aware, I believe you have to request for a permit, is that correct?
Yes.
For the fire in the city.
There have been some issues with the fires. You must have a burn permit. They're good for 90 days. And again, they're not issued through the city or through Millville Fire Department. They are issued through Section Fire Wardens, New Jersey State Forest Fire.
Correct.
No cost, but they only last for 90 days. You got to renew them.
Very good.
That's something new to know. Appreciate the clarification. Commissioner Watson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did have something I would like to bring up. Back to Fleet with some of the tools and equipment that they needed. I found out some new information before this meeting, and I think I'm going to postpone before I speak. It's kind of like all I have. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Well, first of all, I found this nice project in here from the Millville Board of Education for the new football field that they wish to build for a cost of $5 million. So we're not paying for that, in case anybody wonders when they see this 5-cent tax increase coming down the line here. They give us these plans for a courtesy review. We really have nothing to do with it. We can't approve it. We can't deny it. They're going to build it. They're going to spend the money. And that's that. Second, I want to call your attention, resolution number 15-6, I'm sorry. So it's the motion to remove the resolution from the table authorizing the tax collector to cancel a certificate of sale for delinquent taxes and special charges. That's the demolition at 721 North 3rd Street. So we had this on here last time. Mr. Davis remembered that there was an email from the fire chief saying there was an insurance adjuster on the property. So in spite of claims that there was no insurance, if there was an adjuster, there was obviously insurance. So the first floor has tracked that down somewhat. I believe the property was insured for $300,000. Yes.
I thought it was 250.
250. So we shouldn't be giving away a free demolition if there was insurance on the property. We could leave this on the table, but I think what we should do is take this resolution off the table and send a clear no message, rather than just let it die on the table, so that the gentleman making that claim or asking for this relief gets the clear message. So that's up to you guys when the time comes. We are introducing the budget tonight. Marcy is going to give a PowerPoint presentation, I believe, right? It's PowerPoint or just a presentation? Yeah, just, right. So she's going to give a presentation. So I trust all of you guys have read it. I didn't know if you had any questions. I have a couple comments on it. And I will ask Marcy in a second to outline the major driving forces of the tax increase. But I will tell you this, when you're talking to employees and you're making promises, be very, very careful, because if stuff's not in the budget and there's not money for it, Joe doesn't have a printing press on the 5th floor or the 6th floor, and I don't have an ATM in my backside. So the money has to come from somewhere. You know, this tax increase is going to hurt a lot of people. It's necessary, but it's going to hurt people. People on fixed incomes, it's not a good thing. This is my 6th budget I voted on. It'll be the first one that I voted for a tax increase. In fact, it'll be the first time there's a tax increase that I was serving. I'm not happy about it, but this one's kind of beyond my control, kind of beyond most of all of our controls. But there are things you can do, and be very, very careful when you're talking to people. Don't make promises. Make sure the money's there before you make promises. That's all I had to say that. And Marcy, if you would be so kind as to explain the driving forces behind the increase. I know you're going to do the whole presentation at the...
The total increase for the budget for 2023 minus grants, because there's going to be a lot of grants coming in towards the...
You gotta put your mic on.
Take
They
your mics
can't
off.
hear you. Keith.
Oh, I'm sorry. The total increase for 2023 without grants is $3,592,003.83. And it's mainly utilities going up $129,500, insurance $889,396, debt $976,473.39, pension $530,462.95. The remainder of the $1 million increase is due to contractual issues. And that's one of the things that was, most of our contracts are going to be up at the end of this year. All our unions, except for administration, the last year of the contract, which is 2023, had a 3% increase in salaries.
Prior to that, it was a 2% increase until
All the other years
this
were
year,
2.
correct?
The last year was 3. And that was the fire, PBA, SOA. We just negotiated the EMTs, which also had a 3% increase. And Council 18, which would be the road department, water, sewer, parks, and all the other union people. So all of this was beyond my control. I couldn't go to any of these areas and cut. Anything that I did have ability to cut, I did my best to do that. And it's a really tight budget, and it's the worst budget that I've presented since I've been here, and I've been here 10 years. Something is, you know, if we didn't do a 5%, 5-cent increase, I wouldn't have been able to balance the budget. So I consulted with the auditors, it was reviewed by them, and they agreed with how I put the numbers together. So I want to give everyone an opportunity to review. We will post it on the website, and then at the adoption, we will do a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll have the auditors here. It's nice to have an independent person that doesn't work for the city give an opinion as to how they think we should move forward. I used a little bit less surplus than I did the year before. That leaves us with $1.3 million, which is the same as the prior year. I would like it to be higher. The only way that we can make this budget better is to bring more business in so that our ratables will go up, and then we won't have to increase taxes or somehow increase revenue, which I'm not quite sure how we could do that. So this was the only thing left that we could do. We did use quite a bit of CARES money to offset a higher increase, because we started out, it was going to be over 10 cents, and we were able to bring it to 5.
Could you explain the debt increase, why we?
Oh, yes, the debt increase, last year, at the end of the year, we did a bond sale. We could have waited one more year and renewed the notes one more year, but the vice mayor wanted to make sure we took advantage of the interest rates that were much lower last year than they are this year. So we're just gonna have a 1 year, 2023, with an additional $1 million in debt, which will come off next year. So we'll already be starting next year with $1 million less in debt service, and we were able to take advantage of the lower interest rate, which ended up being a good decision that we made.
And the contracts, with the exception of the EMTs, because they weren't unionized before, were negotiated by which commission?
The past commission.
So that you guys know that and figured you believe it easier if it came from the CFO rather than if I'd said it. I don't have any more questions. I don't know if you guys do.
My question was gonna be, like, what's moving forward, you know, I don't think any of us want a tax increase, because we all are residents who live in the city, and we all have a personal budget that we live on, that we don't wanna feel that personally, but moving forward as a city, what is the best way to make sure that we can, decrease the tax or not increase the tax next year? And you stated that, making sure that we can bring businesses in and find revenues.
The only other alternative you have is layoffs, maybe going to a 4-day work week. I mean, there's things we could look at. It was too late to try to do anything for this year.
Yeah.
And then we're really short-staffed as it is in just about every department. The only department we added a position was, I believe, the fire department last year. Other than that, everyone's at the same.
Well, I'm pretty confident that we'll have some more economic development here shortly. I know our administrator, Mr. Compari, has been working diligently on that, and it looks like we're having more, judging by our redevelopment meeting. So hopefully by next year, they at least own the property and can pay the taxes on the property. And shovels are in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy.
I'll
Thank you,
get with
Marcy.
the demolition contractor at Wheaton's. Demolition is ongoing. Asbestos removal is still underway with certain buildings. Department of Labor Division of Asbestos Removal, which I didn't even know they had one. They were out there to make sure that everything's being done properly, and it is. The DEP was also out there. So there's plenty of agencies keeping an eye on it. All is going well so far. The contractor did tell me that he would have another drone video for me so that we could either post it on the website or show it at the meeting to see the progress that's being made. So that's good news too. Other than that, I think that's about all I have right now.
A lot of progress. I appreciate everybody's comments. As of right now, I don't have anything. I'll leave it for the regular session. Doesn't look like there's any new business for this meeting, correct?
Correct.
And we'll just close with any public comment. If you'd like to address the commission, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and limit those comments to 5 minutes.
Hi, it's me, Sean Thom again. Millville, our future first. I didn't know if I was going to bring this up here, if this is even the right venue to do that, but seeing as it is a work session and we're talking about the way the city works, I just wanted to bring something to the commission's attention that we've been experiencing. So February 16th, we got an email that said we needed to get our CO, right? And we had the cease and desist at our facility with what we were doing. We completely own that. That's on us, right? Absolutely. February 21st, a couple days later, there was a weekend in between. I responded. I reached out to Wayne Shelton, our construction official, asking for guidance. I received nothing back. I emailed again 2/22, nothing back. I called several times. Every email was preceded with a call. I emailed March 6th, nothing back. I emailed March 13th and called, nothing back. It wasn't until I actually came into the building on the 14th to drop off our CDBG application where I was able to find Mr. Shelton and actually sit and talk with him. And when I spoke with him, he let me know that there was an email that circulated on February the 21st, which is the first contact I made, that was sent from Carissa Haas-Green, from their office, to Commissioner Hewitt and Mayor Orndorff regarding specific things that we needed to do for our CO. We've received no information for almost a month, even though we reached out countless times to try to getting this situated. When I met with Mr. Shelton last week, he said we need to get an architect rendering. So after talking to my board and to people who we know, we have the exact same blueprints that the building was constructed with that we presented to the zoning board that allowed us to get a waiver for the site plan. Nothing has changed structurally in that building at all since it was originally built. The day after I met, so we're Wednesday, we're the 15th, I reached out and I said, hey, can we do this? Is this something we can do? I've reached out multiple times since then. I've sent emails. I have called. Now, Vice Mayor Sui mentioned the process of, going through the CO and getting it. That's something we are firmly committed to. Because until we are told no, we are going to run the operations in that building once we get approved. It is going to benefit the individuals in our city. However, when we do everything, and all these emails are documented, they can all be produced via Oprah, so can all the phone logs, you guys are all aware of that. We've made countless attempts to sit here and try being in accordance with the statutes. However, we're getting zero support, zero anything from the city. And I wasn't planning on mentioning this until I'm sitting here and going through my emails and wondering why nobody reaches out, nobody responds to an email or to a phone call or to anything. And again, if I was a cynic, I would say it was intentional. I heard, and I know the city is short-staffed. I understand that. But what is the professional courtesy when sending an email or a phone call in regards to returning that? Is there a standard in the city? Because we need help. We want to get this done. We are moving in every single direction to get this CO done, to make sure we are following the guidelines that are outlined, but we can't do it without the help of the city. And so if we're constantly reaching out and asking for help and getting nothing, one has to draw their own conclusions there. So I'd be open to any suggestions or anything that you can provide that would allow us to maybe make this process happen a little sooner. At least let us know what it is we need to do.
Mr. Tom, if you need to reach someone in the city you can't get through, you certainly can call me. You have my personal cell number.
Okay.
You also have mine, Sean, if you didn't get any results anywhere else.
Sean and myself, you have my contact numbers. As far as emails coming out from the 5th floor, I'm the backup to that in case nobody is available as far as the commissioner goes. Now it's Commissioner Romanek. I'm aware of what's going on. I keep an eye on it, but it's the word I'm looking for. I try and stay within my bounds, as I'm reminded to at times. But I understand what you're saying. Myself, I ran into an issue before I sat in this seat at my house. It took me 3 months to be able to close a ditch that had my entire yard cut in half. I finally settled it, believe it or not, by calling Carissa and just going off on her. Evidently, emails aren't going to work. Yes, they give you a receipt. They give you the reason to come here and tell us about them. But what I have found to work through the times of having to deal with the city, different things. be here first thing in the morning. And I know you work also, and that's hard for me to ask you to do. And I do understand what you're saying, because I've been through it. Sadly, I hope we are getting things together up on the 5th floor. Mr. Davis is here. I don't know how much you've reached out to him.
I've reached out to the people who I was instructed to reach out to.
Sean, I'm going to just jump in really quick here, and I'm going to clarify something on behalf of Commissioner Hewitt. The email was sent to Commissioner Hewitt and myself from Carissa, CCing Wayne Shelton, Mr. Campari, Brock Russell, and Mr. Davis on the update. So, Mr. Hewitt, you have received this email. You were clearly made aware of it. We were just made aware of the situation. It was just making us aware that we knowing that there is an appeal on the zoning decision, and that these are the things that are needed for your CO. Beyond that email, I hadn't received anything else from that, nor that you called or emailed beyond that. Again, you can pull those through Oprah, like you said. I don't have those here beyond that email. When I started on that floor, I did request, as far as customer service, that there is a call back within 24 to 48 hours. However, if employees choose not to do as they're stated or asked to do, that's on them. That's not how I run customer service in any job that I've ever run, and I do apologize. That's something that I think we've tried to work in the last year, but you could have emailed me too. I would have called, Mr. Davis and said, what's the update? I would have emailed Wayne. I could have spoke directly to Mr. Russell, because that's typically who I go to. He informs us of everything and updates us. Because this case is even more sensitive to what you guys are going through, you obviously are trying to make things clear and do things right, and I understand that. But again, beyond the email that was sent to us from Carissa, I know nothing else of what has been presented to the 5th floor for your CO.
Can we give the guy an answer by Wednesday or Thursday? I think we can probably do that.
That's what I was going to ask.
I have a note to follow up with Mr. Davis. It's not my department anymore, but because I have an email, I'll be happy to do that. And I think Commissioner Romanek, I'll make sure that he's CC'd on that, because it is now his department. Bring him up to date on this, and we'll make sure we get an answer back to you.
I appreciate it. As you know, this is an expensive process,
Yes.
and one that we are fully capable of and ready to make that commitment to. However, if we don't have to go and hire an architect to reinvent the wheel that's already done, that would be good to know. So I would appreciate a response and any information. And like I said, professionally, in the line of work that I do, which is a union representative, for 24 hours is a professional courtesy. 48 hours I can see. Weeks without a response, is an unacceptable way to handle business, any business you're in, whether we're talking this or anything. So I appreciate the help, and I will look forward to somebody from the office reaching out to me within this week with an update.
And I agree with Vice Mayor Sui. Let's get a decision. And I was in no way denying that I didn't get a copy of that email.
Right.
I was following the rule of the departments,
Right.
That's a good idea. Let's get him a decision.
Pretty
It
simple.
should
Just
be
get the
pretty
guy an
simple.
answer.
You have the blueprints, you received them when you purchased the building.
There's an
I'm
email
not
being
saying
sent
the
out. We'll get you an
decision's simple.
answer.
I'm saying get him an answer
Get him an
within
answer.
1 or 2
Yeah.
days. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
but
And
get you
like
the
I said,
answer.
I initially responded asking for clarification the same day that email was sent from Carissa to everybody else.
So you're just asking for clarification on what
Yeah.
needs to be done
What needs to be done.
for the CO.
And whether or not we can use the existing blueprints for the structure that hasn't changed since it's been built.
Well, the structure hasn't changed, but the uses have, so that may be something that's going to have to be considered.
Right, but if I have to go to an architect and say, hey, we need a whole new rendering of the site plan, of everything, that's gonna cost me us a lot more money than saying, hey, can we use this existing thing and now apply the existing blueprints to the new structure,
You
to the
just
new
want an
use?
answer.
Yeah.
That's
Yes
it.
or no, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm just answering Mr. Russell's question. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, seeing nobody else, we'll close the public comment for the work session. Closing comments, Commissioner Romanek?
I've heard and listened very well and wrote many notes. I will get in touch with my department, especially with Mr. Davis, and we will come to a conclusion. I have to obviously understand this whole process moving forward, but yes, that is all, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Watson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Okay, I think we're all good for this evening. I just need a motion to adjourn for the work session.
Make a
So
motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.